The summer air tasted like possibility. That's what I remember most about the night. Everything changed, not the campfire smoke or the pine needles crushing under our feet, but the way the August heat seemed to hum with something electric, something I couldn't name yet. My name's Arthur. I was 23 that summer, fresh out of college and convinced I had life figured out. I didn't. Camping trip wasn't even my idea. My best friend Maya had been planning it for months, one last harrow before. Everyone scattered to different cities, different lives, 8 of us crammed into 3 tents at Cascade Lake, 3 days of hiking and swimming and pretending we weren't terrified of becoming real adults. And then there was Edward. Edward Mitchell, 62, sandy brown hair that fell into his eyes when he laughed, and a smile that could disarm anyone. Within a 10 FT radius, we'd been friends for 2 years, ever since we both showed up to the same terrible improv class and bonded over how spectacularly bad we were at it. He was straight, or at least that's what he'd always said. That's what I kept telling myself every time my heart did that stupid flutter thing. When he was around, the first day was pure chaos in the best way. Maya had overestimated everyone's camping skills. It took us nearly 2 hours to set up the tents because nobody had actually read the instructions. Edward and I ended up sharing the smallest tent to Tupa's own dome that barely fit our sleeping bags. Cozy, Edward said, grinning as he tossed his backpack inside. His forearm brushed mine and I felt that familiar jolt of electricity. I laughed it off. Yeah. Hope you don't snore. No promises. He winked. That wink, gods, that wink nearly killed me. We spent the afternoon hiking up to Eagles Point, a rocky outcrop with views that stretched for miles. The summer sun painted everything gold. The lake below, the mountains in the distance, even Edward's skin as he stood at the edge, arms spread wide like he was trying to embrace the whole world. This is perfect, he shouted, his voice echoing across the valley. I watched him, my chest tight with something I'd been pushing down for months, maybe years. This wasn't just friendship I was feeling. This was deeper. This was the kind of emotion that kept me awake at 3 a.m., replaying conversations, analyzing every touch, every look, every moment. But he was straight and I was terrified. That evening, we built a campfire that actually worked. Maya brought her guitar, someone produced marshmallows and chocolate. We sat in a circle, passing around stories and laughter as the sky turned from peach to plum to midnight blue. Edward sat next to me, close enough that our knees touched. Neither of us moved away. Remember that time in improv class when you accidentally called the teacher Mom? He said, nudging my shoulder. I groaned. I was hopping. Everyone had forgotten that. Never. His eyes crinkled at the corners. That was the moment I knew we'd be friends forever. Forever. The word hung in the air between us, heavy with meaning I wasn't sure he intended. Yeah, I said softly. Forever. His gaze lingered on mine for just a second too long. Then he looked away, back at the fire out, and took a sip of his beer. My heart hammered in my chest around us. The conversation flowed. Maya was telling some elaborate story about a disastrous first date. Our friend Chris was trying to roast a marshmallow and failing spectacularly. Everything felt warm and safe and Perfect except for the knot in my stomach, except for the way I couldn't stop stealing glances at Edward's profile in the fridge teeth, except for the truth I'd been carrying around like a stone in my chest. We stayed up way too late. One by one, people started drifting off to their tents. Maya yawned and announced she was done. Chris and his girlfriend disappeared. Soon it was just Edward and me sitting by the dying embers of the fire. The night was cool now, the kind of mountain chill that makes you pull your jacket tighter. Edward stretched his shirt, riding up just enough to show a sliver of skin above his jeans. I looked away quickly. You okay? He asked. Yeah. Just tired, liar. He smiled. You get this look on your face when something's bothering you. Your eyebrows do this thing. He demonstrated, scrunching his eyebrows together in an exaggerated way that made me laugh despite myself. There it is, he said. That's better. I'm fine. Edward, really? He studied me for a moment, his expression serious now. You know you can talk to me about anything, right? My throat tightened. Anything. Could I though? Could I tell him that I'd been in love with him for over a year, that every time he casually mentioned some girl he thought was cute, it felt like a small death, that this whole weekend had been equal parts heaven and torture, because we were sharing a tent, sleeping inches apart, and I had to pretend my entire body wasn't screaming for me to just reach out and touch him. I know, I said. Instead, same goes for you, he nodded. Slowly. Good. The fire popped, sending a spray of sparks into the darkness. We should probably sleep, Edward said. Big hike tomorrow. Yes, but neither of us moved. We sat there in the comfortable silence we'd perfected over 2 years of friendship, listening to the crickets and the distant rustle of wind through pine trees. Finally, Edward stood and offered me his hand. I took it. His palm was warm, calloused from his summer construction job. He pulled me up easily, and for a second we were standing close enough that I could smell his colon, something woodsy and clean. Come on, he said, before we freeze out. Here the tent was even smaller. At night we'd left our sleeping bags unzipped to use as blankets, which meant we were lying directly on the sleeping pads, the thin fabric, the only thing between us and the ground, and each other. Edward settled in on his side, propping his head on his hand. You know what's weird? What? I've been thinking a lot lately about life, about what I want. My pulse quickened. Yes, I don't know. College was supposed to have all the answers, you know, but I feel like I'm more confused now than I was 4 years ago. I turned to face him, mirroring his position in the darkness. I could barely make out his features, just the outline of his face and the gleam of his eyes. What are you confused about? I asked softly. He was quiet for a long moment. Everything, he finally said. Who I am, what I want, what I'm supposed to want. Something in his voice made my chest ache. This wasn't just philosophical musing. This was real. This was vulnerability. I'd never heard from him before. Edward, can I ask you something? He interrupted. Of course. When did you know? My breath caught. Know what? That you were gay. The question hung in the air like a held breath. We never talked about this. Not directly. Edward knew I was out, had known since we met, but we'd never actually discussed it. It was just there, an accepted fact, never examined. I think I always knew, I said carefully. But I didn't have words for it until I was 16, and I didn't accept it until I was 19. What made you accept it? I thought about it. I got tired of pretending, tired of trying to force myself to feel things I didn't feel. Tired of being miserable. Edward was quiet. Why are you asking? My voice came out barely above a whisper. He rolled onto his back, staring up at the tent ceiling. I don't know, maybe because I've been feeling, I don't know how to explain it. My heart was pounding so hard I was sure he could hear it. Try, I said. Edward took a shaky breath. There's this thing that happens sometimes, he began, where I'll be around someone and I'll feel this pull, this connection, and for the longest time I thought everyone felt that with their close friends. Like that's just what friendship is, right? Wanting to be around someone all the time, thinking about them constantly, feeling like something's missing when they're not there. I couldn't breathe, but then I started noticing that other people didn't seem to feel that way about their friends. Not like this, not like ... He trailed off. Not like what I prompted gently. He turned his head toward me. Even in the darkness I could feel the intensity of his gaze. It's not like the way I feel about you. The world stopped. My entire body went hot and cold at the same time. This couldn't be happening. This wasn't real. I was dreaming or hallucinating. Or Arthur, his voice cracked. I don't know what this means. I've dated girls. I've been attracted to girls. But this thing with you, it's different. It's bigger. And it terrifies me. Edward, I breathed his name like a prayer. No, I said I was straight. He continued, the words tumbling out now. I've always identified that way, but lately I've been wondering if maybe I was wrong, or maybe it's more complicated than that. Maybe sexuality isn't as simple as I thought. Maybe I'm... He stopped abruptly. Maybe you're what? I asked. Maybe I'm falling for my best friend, he whispered, and maybe he's a guy, and maybe that changes everything. Or maybe it doesn't. I don't know, Arthur. I just know that I can't stop thinking about you, and it's driving me crazy. I don't know who moved first. One moment we were lying there, it's a confession hanging between us like something fragile and precious. The next moment my hand was reaching out, finding his in the darkness, his fingers laced through mine. I've been in love with you for over a year, I confessed, my voice shaking. I never said anything because you're my best friend and you're straight, and I didn't want to ruin what we have. Edward squeezed my hand. You really think I'm straight? You said you were. I know, he laughed, but it sounded more like a sob. But saying something doesn't make it true, does it? We lay there, hands clasped, breathing in sync. I'm scared, Edward admitted. I've never done this before, never even thought about doing this before. What if I'm wrong? What if this ruins our friendship? What if... Hey, I squeezed his hand. We don't have to figure everything out tonight. We don't have to put labels on anything or make any big decisions. We can just ... be whatever this is, whatever this is, he echoed. He shifted closer. Now we were facing each other again, our joined hands between us. Can I try something? He asked. What? I want to kiss you, but only if you want me to. My heart felt like it was about to explode out of my chest. I've wanted you to kiss me for a very long time, I whispered. Edward's free hand came up to cut my face, his touch was gentle, tentative, like he was afraid I might break. His thumb brushed across my cheekbone, and I shivered, shaking. He said softly, "So, are you?" He laughed nervously. "Yeah, we." Stayed like that for a moment, his hand on my face, our other hand still clasped. The anticipation was almost unbearable. Then he leaned in, his lips met mine softly, carefully. It was barely more than a brush of contact, but it sent electricity shooting through every nerve in my body. He pulled back just an inch. "Okay," he whispered. More than okay. This time when he kissed me, it was deeper. His hand slid from my cheek to the back of my neck, fingers threading through my hair. I let go of his other hand so I could place mine on his chest, feeling his heart racing under my palm. The kiss was sweet and searching. There was nothing practiced about it, nothing smooth. It was genuine and real and perfect in its imperfection. When we finally broke apart, we were both breathing hard. "Oh," Edward said. "Yeah." He rested his forehead against mine. "That was ... I know." We lay there wrapped up in each other, our breath mingling in the small space between us. "I don't know what I'm doing," Edward said. "I don't know what this makes me or what it means for us." "That's okay," I assured him. "We'll figure it out together. Promise." Promise. Fell asleep. Like that, tangled together. I woke up to golden morning light filtering through the tent and Edward's arm draped over my waist. He was still asleep, his face peaceful and younger somehow in the soft dawn glow. My mind raced. Had last night really happened, or had I dreamed the whole thing? But no, his arm around me was real. The lingering warmth of his kiss was real. This was happening. Edward stirred, his eyes fluttering open. For a second, he looked confused. Then his gaze focused on me, and he smiled. That smile could have powered the sun. "Hi," he said, his voice rough with sleep. "Hi, so last night wasn't a dream?" I shook my head. "Definitely not a dream." "Good." He pulled me closer. "Because that would have been a really disappointing way to wake up." We lay there for a while, neither of us wanting to face the outside world yet. In this tent, in this moment, everything was simple. It was just us. Eventually we heard Maya's voice outside. "Breakfast in 20 minutes. Don't make me come drag you out." Edward groaned. "I guess we should get up." "Yeah," but neither of us moved. "Hey, Arthur." "Yeah, thank you," Edward said, "for being patient with me, for not giving up on me figuring this out." I reached up and ran my fingers through his hair. "Thank you for trusting me enough to tell me." He caught my hand and brought it to his lips, pressing a soft kiss to my knuckles. My heart melted. The rest of the camping trip passed in a beautiful blur. Edward and I didn't announce anything to the group. We didn't need to. We just existed together in this new way, and it felt right. Stolen glances across the campfire, hands brushing when we passed each other, trail mix, him draping his jacket over my shoulders. When the evening got cold, me catching him staring at me with this soft expression that made my knees weak. Maya noticed, of course. She didn't say anything. She gave me a knowing smile and a thumbs up when Edward wasn't looking. On our last night, we hiked up to the lake shore after everyone else had gone to bed. The moon was nearly full, turning the water silver. We sat on a fallen log, watching the light dance on the gentle waves. I talked to my sister today. Edward said suddenly. When we had cell service at the ranger station, turned to look at him. About you, about us, about me, questioning everything I thought I knew about myself. My stomach tightened. What did she say? Edward smiled. She said it was about damn time. Apparently she's known for years that I wasn't as straight as I claimed to be. She said she was just waiting for me to figure it out. I laughed. Smart sister, the smartest. He took my hand, lacing our fingers together. She also said that love is love, and sexuality is fluid, and I should stop overthinking and just follow my heart. And what is your heart saying? He turned to face me fully, bringing his other hand up to touch my face. It's saying that I'm falling in love with you, Arthur. Hard, and I don't want to fight it anymore. Tears pricked my eyes. Yeah, he kissed me then, slow and deep and full of promise. I know I'm new to all of this. I know I'm going to mess up and say the wrong things and probably freak out at some point, but I want this. I want you, if you'll have me, if I'll have you. I laughed through my tears. Edward, I've been yours since the moment you walked into that terrible improv class and made a joke about cheese that absolutely did not land, but made me laugh anyway. He grinned. That was a good joke. It was terrible. You still laughed. I couldn't help it. You were cute. Were? I pushed his shoulder playfully. Okay, fine. You are cute. Happy, very. We kissed under the stars for what felt like hours. When we finally headed back to camp, hand in hand, everything felt different. The air was clearer, the stars were brighter, my heart was fuller than I'd ever thought possible. So, what happens when we get back to real life? I asked as we approached our tent. Edward squeezed my hand. We figure it out together, one day at a time. That's simple, that's simple. He stopped and pulled me close, wrapping his arms around me. Look, I know there are going to be challenges. I have to come out to my family, my other friends. I have to unlearn a lot of stuff I thought was true about myself. But Arthur, when I'm with you, everything makes sense. You make me braver. I hugged him tighter. You make me braver too. Then we'll be brave together. That was 3 years ago. I'm sitting here now in our apartment. Yes, our apartment, titting this story because Edward convinced me to share it. He said people need to hear about real gay love stories, ones that are messy and complicated and beautiful. He's in the kitchen right now, probably burning whatever he's trying to cook for dinner. He's gotten better at cooking over the years, but he still has his disasters. How's the story coming? He calls out. Almost done. I call back. Make sure you mention how devastatingly handsome I am. I laugh. Already did. The truth is coming out is different for everyone. Edward's journey wasn't linear. There were hard conversations with his family, some of whom struggled at first, but eventually came around. There were moments of doubt and fear and wondering if he was making the right choice, but through it all we had each other. We built a life together, slowly, carefully, like crafting something precious. We supported each other through job changes and family drama and all the regular chaos that comes with being young adults trying to figure out life. And yeah, we're happy. Really, genuinely happy. Not every day is perfect. We fight about whose turn it is to do the dishes. He gets grumpy when he's tired. I get anxious about stupid things. We are both works in progress, but we love each other deeply. authentically, with our whole hearts. Edward pops his head into the living room. Dinner's ready, and before you ask, yes, I followed the recipe this time. I wasn't going to ask, I lie. He grins, walking over to kiss the top of my head. Sure you weren't, come eat before it gets cold. I save the document and stand up, following him to the kitchen, where he somehow managed to create a actually edible looking pasta dish. You know what I was thinking about today, he says as we sit down. What's that? That camping trip, that night in the tent. How terrified I was. He reaches across the table to take my hand. And how telling you how I felt was the scariest and best decision I've ever made. My heart swells. After 3 years he still makes me feel like this. I love you, I say simply. I love you too. So, what really happened that night in the tent? The truth is, something beautiful began. Not just a relationship, but a journey of self-discovery, acceptance, and love that neither of us expected, but both of us needed. Edward isn't straight, or maybe he is, except when it comes to me. Or maybe he's bisexual or pansexual. Or maybe labels don't really matter at all. What matters is that two people found each other. Two people were brave enough to be honest about their feelings. Two people chose love, even when it was scary and uncertain. That's the real story. That's what really happened that night in the tents. And we're still writing new chapters every single day. Maya likes to take credit for the whole thing. If I hadn't planned that camping trip, you two would still be pinning from a distance, she says. Whenever the story comes up, she's probably right. Chris and his girlfriend got married last year. Maya's engaged now. Our friend group has grown and changed, but we've stayed close. They all came to our commitment ceremony last summer. Small thing with just our closest friends and family up at Cascade Lake, where everything began. We stood by the water where we'd kissed under the stars 3 years earlier, and we made promises to each other to love and support each other through whatever comes, to keep being brave together. Maya cried. Edward cried. I definitely cried. It was perfect. If you're reading this and you're struggling with your sexuality, or you're in love with someone you think is out of reach, or you're just scared to be honest about who you are, I see you. I know it's terrifying. I know it feels impossible sometimes, but I also know that living your truth, loving who you love, being authentically yourself, that's where real happiness lives. Edward took a leap of faith that night. In the tent, he chose honesty over hiding. He chose possibility over safety. And it changed both of our lives for the better. Your journey will be different from ours. Every coming out story is unique. Every love story unfolds in its own way, but you deserve love. You deserve happiness. You deserve to live out loud. Don't give up on yourself. Don't give up on love. Edward just brought me coffee. You finished? He asks, reading over my shoulder. Yeah. What do you think? He's quiet for a moment, reading. Then he wraps his arms around me from behind and kisses my cheek. I think you're an amazing writer. I think this is a beautiful story, and I think I'm the luckiest guy in the world. Even though I told the internet about your terrible cheese joke, especially because you told them about the cheese joke. It's part of our origin story. Our origin story. I turn in his arms and kiss him properly, even after 3 years. Kissing him still feels like coming home. Love you, I murmur against his lips. Love you more, not possible. He grins. Want a bet, just like that. We're laughing, kissing, being ridiculous, and in love, and exactly where we're supposed to be. This is what really happened that night in the tents. This is what happens when you're brave enough to tell the truth. This is our gay love story, a heartfelt romance, our journey of coming out and finding each other and building a life together. And we wouldn't change a single moment of it. The E and D, will they face new adventures together? Want to hear more stories about Arthur and Edward's life? Drop a comment with part 2 and I'll know you want to see what happens next. If this story made your heart flutter, hit that LK button, subscribe for more emotional LGBTQ plus love stories, coming out journeys, and wholesome gay romance every week. Remember, your story matters, your love is valid. Somewhere out there, your person is waiting for you to be brave. Stay proud, stay hopeful, stay you. Like, comment, and subscribe to our channel.